What's up, everybody? I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be testing the AllPowers R1500. We're going to put it through its paces. We're going to do our little walk around, test out all its features, and then we're going to give it an eco score. Let's get into it. So first up, there's no fancy unboxing with this, you might have noticed, and that is because this thing came in a just regular shipping box with some black foam. And I already opened it. I thought it was going to be a box within a box, and I was totally wrong. So this is kind of how it looked. This was sitting on top of the foam. You had this case here, which feels very flimsy. Not saying the case, but just it's feeling light. And as I expected, they was laid on the rim. This is all we get. No car charger, no nothing. But at least there's no big power break or nothing like that. Just, here you go. No solar or nothing, just power cord. And then we have our warranty card with all types of information manual in there. All right. And then we have the system itself. Now, I'm excited about this because I just had an awful catastrophe with my EcoFlow. And for the money, this is a crazy competitor to the Delta 2. All right, but we're going to get there. We're going to save all that for last. Let's see if it actually works. So as we can see on the front, we have two USB-C 100 watt outlets. Yeah. Two USB-A 18 watt outlets. Yeah. We have a screen. We have our DC out. All right, but I noticed we missing the DC 551s. But honestly, who really uses those? But still, it's nice to have. We have our covered ports here. Oh, gosh. I wonder, can we remove that? Probably, maybe. 20 amp outlet there. What about, gotcha. 20 amp outlet there. I'd be happy if it was just those two and some regular 20 amp outlet there. And we'll, what 20 amp outlets? 4 of them. Count them, 4 20 amp outlets. Let's move around. All right, well, first, before we move around, we have 2 wireless spots. One 15 watts. I thought it said 10. I must be sleepy. And then this one also 15 watts. Oh, we're going to test them too. On the side, we have expansion battery ports. 2 of them. Press. I thought it was going to glide all the way up, but there we are. 2 expansion ports for 2 batteries. We'll have to look and see what the capacity is. On the back, we just have some information in a screw hole there, which I forgot to mention. Oh, these are soft too. Is this one soft? Yeah, these are soft, which means it should be fairly easy to get inside this thing. See our little ports here to pry this bad boy up. Should be easy to get turned to. Now, on the back, I'll just leave that here real quick, and you can check that on out for yourself. The AC I guess, okay, there we go. Product input. I'm sitting here looking normally for AC for input over here. So AC input is 100 to 120 volts times 15 amps max. So a little over 1500 watts, at least 1500 watts. Coming on over to the other side, we have our AC charge, AC overload protection, and solar and car input. So let's go ahead and pop that open. And we see them. Now, let's go back and analyze and talk about the solar, because it takes 12 to 60 volt solar panels, which is very impressive. That's a long, wide range right there at 13 amps max. And on the bottom, we have some nice, funky looking feet. Now, let's turn this bad boy on. I just want to see how you turn it on. Okay, so we hold it. Turn on, we're at 64%. And it's giving us our little countdown of what we have left. Oh, 8 days. Ooh, I like that. It converted into days. So we'll see if this will actually change and convert into minutes as we get lower down. If it does, man. This also does have app support, so I'll be downloading the AllPowers app. Hopefully it's comprehensive, but I won't get too excited. All right, I just threw on a charge, and I haven't gone to app and done anything, but it's charging at about 1,000 watts in. Fan is kicked on. It's a little noisy, but it does convert down to minutes. It even registers the hertz, 60 hertz, and it's saying, hey man, we're going to be good in about 40 minutes. And it also switches to recharge. I like all that automation. But let's now go into the app and see what that can do. All right, so we are now in the AllPowers app. And if you take a look at the top, we have Bluetooth devices, and then we have Wi-Fi devices underneath that. Now, the R1500 is a Wi-Fi device, which means that it can be controlled remotely from anywhere. As long as it's connected to the internet and it is near a router and it's been set up on that network, you can control it from anywhere in the world. Now, the Bluetooth devices can only be controlled if you are nearby. So I do recommend you always spring for devices that have Wi-Fi access instead of just simply Bluetooth. And that goes for more than just AllPowers. That's any power station. So right now we do see the R1500. It is offline. It's offline, so I don't think that when I click that, that will actually work and turn it on, which it does not. I'm sitting next to it now. But you do have basic controls. So you can turn on the AC outlets, you can turn on the DC ports, you can see the input and the output, and you can see at the top where the battery is sitting. So you see it's at 63%, and the remaining time, even if it's currently being charged, the remaining time will not change to how much time is remaining to fill the battery up to 100%. It will always only show how much time is remaining on the battery. And I'm going to demonstrate that right now by plugging it in. All right, now we see the device is charging and we see that the remaining time has not changed. It's getting 399 watts in, and that is because it's on the mute mode, which we'll see in a second, but it does not change. It just shows you how much time is remaining on the battery for consumption. Now, if we go into settings, we have a few settings here. We see at the bottom first, there's a firmware upgrade. I reached out to them. When you touch it, it'll ask you for a code. I reached out to them. They said just ignore it. It doesn't need an upgrade. I think that this unit does need an upgrade, as you'll see later on in the testing. But we have eco mode shutdown time, so you can set how long you want the device to run, and it will shut off during the specified time. And as far as the work mode goes, that is how quickly or slowly you would like the unit to charge. So you have three different options. You have mute mode, which caps it out at 400 watts in. Then you have standard mode, which caps it at 1,000 watts. And then fast mode, which allows it to go and charge as fast as it possibly can. All right, this thing charged up really fast. It's 11:48 p.m. and we're going to do the parasitic drain test now. I'm going to turn on the AC and DC, and we'll check this back in 12 hours and see where she's at. All right, it is 11:48 a.m. and I am happy to see and report that the DC is still on, the AC outlets are still on, then just shut off because it felt like it. Let's see where we're at. 75%. Whoo! That is a little hog right there. Well, let's go ahead and input that data, but man, I would have liked to see something no less than 88% from an inverter this small, but yeah, that was a hog. Now that we finished that test, let's go ahead and try to max this bad boy out and just see how powerful that inverter is. All right, everybody, first up is the blow dryer on high. Handling that just fine. Let's go ahead and get the heat gun. All right, blow dryer on low. Heat gun on. Oh. There we go. It got the 2118 before crapping out. Yes, very nice. All right, so we're all charged back up, and we're going to now do our capacity test. And I'm going to use the hair dryer this time. Reason for the hair dryer is because when we use appliances that have a smaller draw, and this is kind of annoying, we end up losing power to the inverter. So I want to use something that uses more power, just so we can really see what the full battery capacity is. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully this thing doesn't die. We'll leave it up here. Let's go. All right, that was over quite fast. I think I enjoy doing this. I think in the future, though, to be safe, I'm going to use a heater. So let's go find something to plug this up into. All right, so let's go see what she reads. All right, so that ran for 34 minutes, and it used 975 watt hours out of 1152. For 30 minutes, I don't know if that's that great, but let's go ahead and check that out anyway. Let's go punch it into our data sheet and see what that calculates out to be. So 84%, that's not too bad once you consider the fact that the fans were running on full blast and it needed power to run those as well. So yeah, 84%, it's not terrible. Not great, not the best, but also not the worst either. As I started to charge the device up, I realized that it actually had 5% left. So we're going to have to recalculate that. So it's really not 84%. It did a lot better than that. This will shut off at 5%, which is actually what you want to protect the batteries in your power station. So that's actually very good. Now, while we're here, let me quickly test the noise. About 80 decibels. The R1500 weighs in at 37 pounds, 6 ounces. All right, now let's check the max input. So this is rated at 1500 watts in. Let's see what it charges at. All right, approaching that 1500 mark, 1524, sitting around 1507. All right, so that's definitely hitting its number. We did see 1524, so we'll call that it's tippy top peak. So that is the AllPowers R1500. What do I think about it? I really like the unit, especially for the price, which we'll get into in a moment. As far as features go, I do appreciate the 2 wireless charging pads on the top. They both do work. I charged 2 phones simultaneously and they both maxed out at 15 watts each. I do appreciate the fact that it has high-speed USB ports. It has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth. I wish that the Wi-Fi was active all the time, but the inverter on this thing is a hog, so I guess that helps with conserving energy. I do appreciate the ports, especially with them being 20 amps. Not sure how I feel about the covers, but you could just cut those off if you didn't like them. It is missing the DC 5521 ports, but again, I probably would never use those. One thing to note on the side here is that this XT60 port is just that. It's an XT60 port, not an XT60i, like the Delta 2, for example. So one would think that it would not charge as fast as an EcoFlow Delta 2 in terms of solar, but it claims to charge at 650 watts. I unfortunately don't have the solar panels to verify that, but hopefully in the future I will be able to run that kind of test, or at the very least get a DC to DC charger and see if I can rig something up. It does have 2 expandable ports, but the website does not specify its ultimate capacity. I reached out to AllPowers and hopefully I'll hear something soon before I post this video, and if I do, I'll just leave that in the description. But if it was just 1,000 watt hours a piece, we'd be looking at over 3,000 watt hours, more than a lot of other power stations out there. It is a big, heavy, girthy thing to not have 6 ports like its competitors, but again, these are all 20 amp ports, and its competitors like the Delta 2 or the Anker C1000, they do not have as many 20 amp ports as this. The handles are neatly tucked under, and they have a nice cushion underneath there to make carrying this not so bad at all. You can still carry it with one hand, but obviously it's easier if you use 2 for balance. As far as price goes, you can find this AllPowers R1500 for $499. $499 gets you quite a bit. So the other things that this is lacking is more excusable for me at that price. Now, with all that said, let's go ahead and give it an eco score. All right, coming to the chart now. In terms of price, the R1500 is the cheapest in its entire segment, and it gets a 5. In terms of weight, this is a tricky one because when you're carrying it, it feels like it's the same weight of anything else that's 1,000 watt hours. The Delta 2, the Anchor C1000. And so I don't know if that's because of the cushioning or the size of it, proportions, I'm not sure. But the scale doesn't lie, and it gets a 2. In terms of performance, we saw the numbers, it gets a 5. Now, when it comes to efficiency, this could easily be remedied with an update. I don't know. Again, I reached out to them. They said that update is unnecessary and it's not accurate, but I'm kind of feeling like probably it is because losing 25% overnight due to a parasitic drain is insane, and it gets a 1. In terms of features, it doesn't have the latest and greatest in terms of app support, but it does have all the important things in an app. It also doesn't have things like a flashlight or those DC 521 ports, but those are things that most people would not be using anyway, and it gets a 4. In terms of charge rate, it gets a 5. The AllPowers R1500 has a 5-year warranty, and it gets a 5. As far as value goes, I really do love everything that you get for the price. It is highly competitive with everyone else in the segment, but because the company is newer, we don't really know what their future looks like. I can't give it a 5 here, and so I'm going to give it a 4 for a grand total of 31 points, which puts the AllPowers R1500 right here under the Delta 2. Again, if they were to give this thing an update and fix that parasitic drain, we could give it a 5 there, and it would tie the EcoFlow Delta 2.